You are now tuned into the TRUENORTH.BET podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I'm pleased to be back with you. Please get back in it. I was in Miami, and of course, now I'm back in Toronto, back in the six, back in Ontario, where TRUENORTH.BET fans can bet anything you want. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, and all of your listening platforms. Make sure you go to TRUENORTH.BET, of course, for all of your parlay needs. The 2023 NFL season is just around the corner, and I'm super excited, super amped to get going. If you didn't know or see, on our Instagram page, you can bet on all the stat leaders. And of course, with the season just around the corner, that means fantasy football is around the corner as well. So speaking of stat leaders, I'm here to give you my thoughts and my thoughts alone on the predictions. If you disagree with me, put your money where your mouth is by playing at TRUENORTH.BET. Let's get it. Let's go from there. Let's just start right now. I'm going to go through some of the bets and just make sure we have an idea of exactly what's going on, what we're really going with right now. I'm going to start with the most rushing yards. Okay, so most rushing yards, we have Nick Chubb at 7 to win it for the entire year. You have Jonathan Taylor at 7.5. Once again, with Anthony Richardson in the fold, they had Gardner Minshew taking in some first team snaps, but of course you do have Jonathan Taylor there, and he's someone that is really favored to go and have it all. At 8, we have Derrick Henry. All right, at number 4, we have Bijan Robinson. I want to clarify for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is at 8 to actually have the most rushing yards right there. Bijan Robinson's at 10. We have Josh Jacobs at 11. Saquon Barkley at 15. That's just only the running backs. We're going to talk about the running back market right now. And of course, Saquon Barkley is back for 1 year, making around $11 million. We're going to talk about that fairly soon, but I want to make sure I get this out of the entire way. When it comes to most receiving yards, of course, I'm a Jamar Chase guy as a Bengals, but there are some problems in general in the NFL. And there's such good receivers right now, especially as this game is expanding them. The spread offense type for every team. You already know what it is. So most receiving yards, the favorite is Justin Jefferson at 6.5. We have Jamar Chase coming in at second at 7.5. Tyreek Hill at 10 for the most receiving yards. We have Cooper Kupp at 12. AJ Brown at 15 in Philadelphia, and Devontae Adams with Jimmy Garoppolo in the fold in Las Vegas at 19 to have the most receiving yards in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, number 1, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, and then Devontae Adams. When it comes to running backs, I had Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, and then Saquon Barkley for the rush. So that's the order from top to bottom. For most passing yards in the league, you can even just guess right now, the guy that pretty much started in the quarterback series on Netflix, Patrick Mahomes at 4.7 to the most passing yards in the entire league. Joe Burrow comes number 2 at 7. Justin Herbert at 7.5. Just got inked on a 5-year deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to talk about that very soon. A lot of money, over $252 million. Josh, just to make sure you understand, Justin Herbert at 7.5. Kirk Cousins at 10. Josh Allen at 10 as well, too, in the same range as Kirk Cousins, and of course Tua Tagovailoa at 12 to have the most passing yards in the entire league, and that's a long shot. I don't really know why I put him there, but he's there. So I have Patty Mahomes number 1 to have the most passing yards, then Joe Burrow, then Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, and then of course Tua Tagovailoa. When it comes to tight ends now, of course I would have Kelsey number 1. All right, then you have Andrews with Baltimore going to number 2. Greg Kittle. And Chris Kittle, going to number 3. Of course, you can go down the list of all the other, Darren Waller, another guy that's going to be a little bit more of a surprise this year. There's a lot of tight ends, and when it comes down to it, that's one thing I'll definitely say. But overall, best fantasy players, and I'm going to be getting into a lot more with fantasy football as I have a pretty good team, and of course, a lot that's going to be riding on my team this year. I expect to win again. Justin Jefferson will be the top. Of course, Tyreek Hill will be there. I think he's going to have a breakout year. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Bijan Robinson. Please check out Bijan Robinson. Anthony Richardson out of Indianapolis will be another guy that I think can break on the scene. Saquon Barkley, because he's in a contract year again. Didn't take the franchise tag, agreed to it. 1 year, $11 million deal. He's right there. Another guy that's going to absolutely break out and hopefully stay healthy the entire year. Cooper Kupp, I think, will have a bounce back year with Matthew Stafford. I think he's definitely be one guy that you could definitely have to look at and think about a little bit more as you go down. AJ Brown's gonna have a great year. Devontae Adams, I hope, and I think will have an exceptional year overall. But with that preface, as I'm gonna just give you a little brief take of that right now. More stats are available for betting at TrueNorth.bet. Make sure you head over to TrueNorth.bet as soon as possible to make sure you understand exactly what is going on, exactly what is happening with all of the bets and different landing spots for each team, each player, because this NFL season is going to be incredibly entertaining as we have so many storylines, so many things that are going on. And it's just a matter of us staying on top of it. And that's one thing, knowing that a lot of these guys are taking command of the new team. So we have, of course, Sam Howell in Washington. He's going to the new quarterback there. I think he's going to have a good year. There are a lot of people saying he's doing really well right now. I saw some footage of him throwing around with the likes of McLaurin and Dodger, Han Dotson, many other guys as well too in that team. I think they're going to have a really good year. Antonio Gibson's playing really well. That's one thing that I've been hearing a lot of. That's one thing we'll see exactly what happens. Of course, Packers QB Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers are always going to be compared to each other. And some advice that was actually given from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love is that he advised him to just be himself, ahead of his first year. Be himself and see exactly what's happening there. There's a lot of speculation that he's doing really well in training camp right now, but is he ready to take on a team, right? Of course, we're going to talk a lot about different quarterbacks really soon, but I wanted to make sure I got through that. Also, as I said before, 5 years, $262.5 million extension for Justin Herbert. And that's not going to be his last deal either. He's a guy who will stay in the league for quite a bit. $262 million. He's inked it. He's earned it out of Oregon. I knew he was going to be a great player out of Oregon as well, too. And that's one thing that we really are going to be, seeing and eyeing over the next few years. See exactly how does he do in that system? How does he play? How does he get acclimated to it in a system that's really pass heavy? Are they able to get over the hump? Remember, in the playoffs, they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars when they were favored. Of course, they were, a lower record than the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they had the game won. They're a more talented team, but Jacksonville still came with Trevor Lawrence and managed to get that done. They're coming back from what felt like the dead to come back and win that game was incredible. So that we'll see exactly what happens there as we go through it. But a lot of guys, like you can even look at the Sam Howell. I think he's going to play really well. Went to North Carolina. Of course, another quarterback from North Carolina right now that's playing really well, and he's daily. He's going to be a good player as well too. Probably the most heartwarming story in general when it comes to football and him being full go again is the likes of Damar Hamlin. He is full go at training camp now, as Bills head coach Sean McDermott did clarify. Great news. He's 100%. He's behind the entire team, behind the entire organization, giving out the award at the ESPYs to the Bills, first aid staff, Bills health staff in general was incredible. Very emotional time. I even teared up. Those really get me because they did save his life. They did a really good job. Taking him back to life, especially after that game that was so controversial with the playoff landscape and what was happening there. But him being back and playing and being a full go is definitely some great news to know because, he is a great player. His story is incredible. Everything he's done, even flashing up this heart sign right here that everyone universally knows at this point now, as you're tapped into exactly what happened there. It's really interesting to see how it goes. But let's talk about probably the topic that's been brought up quite a bit overall in the NFL landscape, and that's the market. That's the running back market. Coach GM Chris Ballard actually was asked today about Jonathan Taylor's contract, and he literally said, hey, the market is what the market is. So essentially what they're saying is that these running backs, because they suffer so much wear and tear over time, are not going to be paid big money by these owners for some reason. You see the money in basketball. You see the money with quarterbacks. You see the money with soccer, Saudi players that are going here. You see the money with all these, and yet you're not going to pay the guys you need. You can't throw the ball every play. You need running backs to be in the mix. And the fact that the market, of course, Saquon Barkley did come back, sign a 1-year, $11 million contract, but that's baby food. And for what he does deserve a lot more than that. That's anyone that knows football can straight up tell you that. Why are right tackles and left tackles for the line getting paid so much money? Of course, they have to protect the quarterback and the running back, but even Titus Howard, right, agreed on a 3-year, $56 million contract. Running backs don't get those contracts, right? Quarterbacks, O-linemen, they get those contracts. It just really shows you how watered down the market is for the running backs and how they're in an alliance right now. Of course, Saquon did go out there and sign something, but you see Josh Jacobs, we see the Dalvin Cooks, we see a number of these players, these running backs that have proven themselves over year. Leonard Fournette, a lot of these guys are looking for contracts and cannot ink anything because they're being told, okay, we can't give you this much, we can't give you this much, and essentially they get franchise tagged, and it's a year by year getting franchise tagged, and it's frustrating. They want the guaranteed money, they want to be able to market themselves, on and on. And that's one thing that will continue to eye. Bears tight end, another tight end that catches the ball, blocks, 4-year, $50 million contract. That's a good contract for what these guys are making. Like, these guys are making incredible money right now. But that's one thing we'll get into it. Just going to another area right now is when it comes to first-year quarterbacks, second-year quarterbacks. You look at the 49ers today, literally today, Brock Purdy, his elbow was cleared for practice, right? Trey Lance has been receiving the first team reps thus far. Nick Bosa is not expected to practice before his new contract. He's holding out right now. He's holding out. A number of these running backs are holding out. There's so many players that are holding out for new contracts, and this happens year after year. You can even look up Zach Martin, another guy right here. Zach Martin, not currently at the Cowboys training camp. Of course, Jerry Jones is super urgent to win another Super Bowl with the current group they have with Dak Prescott, but can't get a contract, right? These holdouts, every year it seems like this happens. They hold out, trying to look for a better contract, having their agent speak to management, continuing to kind of work through something, continue to work through it, holding out from practice, holding out from training camp. And next thing you know, that they're off for a year. We look at Le'Veon Bell, his situation as a running back. He should have been paid the big bucks. Didn't get it. Held out. Ends up going to New York Jets. Ended up being a shell of himself, missing that 1 year with Ben Roethlisberger, with Antonio Brown, all those guys. Everything, once again, other than being the Bengals guy, watching the Steelers and that team with Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, you can go down the list. Le'Veon Bell, they were dangerous. That's another team that should have probably won another Super Bowl. They were dangerous, but those guys in that mix, becoming kind of haywire and them kind of going out, like, not Ben Roethlisberger, of course, he did what he had to do, but Le'Veon Bell and his situation, not getting a contract, and Antonio Brown just going haywire, becoming one of those mental cases in the NFL. It's just incredible how that team went from one side of the pendulum to the other in a matter of moments. And that's incredible. Going back and even seeing this contract, another one too, that happened within the year. It's Trayvon Diggs, cornerback. He's been burned by a lot of guys, right? Not really the best cover corner, but had a number of interceptions last year. Played really well in one of his first years there, but still got burnt, still got toasted sometimes. But he signed a 5-year, $97 million contract extension. 5-year, $97 million contract extension. Once again, now all of this is guaranteed, but just having that number out there and agreeing on 5 years is a big deal. And you hope he can maintain his athleticism, maintain everything for another 5 years. But 5 years is a tough time, especially for this guy. But his entire contract is worth up to $104 million with incentives. That's incredible. And that was reported by Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. But that's incredible what they're getting, right? These guys are continuing to go, continue to work, and of course, get those contracts. So cornerbacks, O-linemen, quarterbacks, receivers now too. You can even say receivers at some point as well too, get paid the big bucks. But running backs, linebackers, other susceptible or injury susceptible players, which they all are, but higher level because they're getting hit so much and they're either hitting or receiving the hitting, are not able to receive these contracts. And that's exactly what football is predicated under. It's contact, it's this and that, but not being able to get their money. I disagree with it. Really and truly, I disagree with it. I think that these owners need to start paying these running backs, but long term, it's just the market is what the market is. You don't want to settle on a running back and have another one come up that you can use as well too, that is just as athletic, just as capable, but will be a lot cheaper. So the running backs are always going to get paid cheaper. Like the 1 year, $11 million contract for Saquon, that's for the running back market right now. That's actually not a bad contract. That's good money for a running back that's being hit all the time. You would have to be like a Christian McCaffrey, for instance, who's able to do everything. And Saquon can do it. He can line up in the slot and run a bunch of corners, run a bunch of posts, and still get open slants underneath routes and still get open and catch the ball and go. But the team relies on him to have that breakaway speed and get the ball and run and receive contact. And that's the reason why a lot of these teams are really having trouble retaining these players. And that's why they jump from team to team and see exactly where they're going, right? Jimmy Graham, my guy, Jimmy Graham returns to the Saints in a 1-year deal. That's hilarious, but great for them that they actually get something back there. But just going through the motions, I'm going to go from one. I'm just on a tangent right now, but of course, the holdouts are one. That's one thing that is a huge topic right now in the NFL landscape. How many rookie QB reps will we get? When we look at the Anthony Richardson, we look at the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Bryce Young was named number one quarterbacks to start the year. Of course, you would have to because he inked a big contract for 4 years. You need to give him that number one spot, but him coming out of Alabama, being as small as he is, now putting on some weight, but being the quarterback there, it's tall task, and you hope that he's able to step up this year and do well. I saw a report today saying Gardner Minshew was taking team number one reps rather than Anthony Richardson. Why is that the case? Why is Anthony Richardson not the number ones? It's what happens every single time. If you see the players, rookies, quarterbacks are always going to make mistakes. You need to get a veteran in there to control what's going on. And that's essentially what you got to do. But how many rookie QBs will be successful? CJ Stroud is the undoubtful quarterback in Houston right now. No one's competing for that spot. It's just him with a rebranded team in general. He's going to get some spots, but I'm really keen on knowing exactly what's going to happen in Indianapolis. What are they going to do with Indianapolis? What are they going to do with the team in general there? How are they going to shape the team around Anthony Richardson? They did draft him pretty high. Let's hope that they ball. Let's hope that whatever happens there. Tennessee, of course, we have Tennessee right there. Getting DeAndre Hopkins. Who's going to start there, right? Who's going to be the quarterback? Who's going to lead that team right now? Of course, they drafted last year, just drafted the quarterback, right? Now you have Will Levis there as a quarterback, all right? This entire team was predicated on running the ball with Derrick Henry. They have Ryan Tannehill there, right? Like you have all of these players there that are still going through the motion, still doing what they do, but it's really like you would hope that Vrabel knows what he wants to do with his entire team, but it is really interesting to see exactly what they're doing and exactly what they're planning to do with his entire team with DeAndre Hopkins. So you haven't seen a guy, to be honest with you, really and truly land to teams that don't have any value of going to the Super Bowl. You really don't see that as much. You have Malik Willis in the fold. You have Ryan Tannehill. You have Will Levis. All three guys that were drafted fairly high, other than with the legs on the legs than Ryan Tannehill, because he was a receiver at Texas A&M. He just started playing quarterback, but you're gonna have Ryan Tannehill start. You're gonna have Malik Willis back up, and you have Will Levis back up. But you just drafted them back-to-back years, so you want to either the offense has got to change, or you got to see what's happening now, right? You have Nick Respirant-Dakini, who played okay last year. Chris Moore's in the fold now. And then you got DeAndre Hopkins, a receiver. All right, you got Treylon Burks, who you pretty much drafted last year. You have so many guys, but how do you put it all together now? That's essentially what they're gonna have to look for and how they're gonna have to put it together. And we'll see if they even start Will Levis, if they have to go back to Malik Willis, if they give up Malik Willis. Really interesting times in Tennessee. They haven't been able to get over the hump. They haven't been able to win enough games to get to a Super Bowl. They should have done it a few times, but haven't been able to do it. I'll never forget the time they beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore in that 1 year. And of course, everyone questioned his throwing ability because he was, pretty much like the MVP that year and just struggled immensely against the Tennessee Titans. But they are foes. They are enemies. They are not necessarily, I'm going to say, intense rivalry with them, but they just don't like each other. And I remember when Lamar Jackson ended up beating them throughout the year, really took that, took that stride. He really liked that, really enjoyed that win, but we'll see what happens there. Another question, just speaking of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, that offense with Odell Beckham Jr., with Lamar Jackson, All right. You have these receivers that are there as well, too, that are around this team. You have Mark Andrews. What do you do? All right. You got Zay Flowers. You drafted him this year. He's supposed to be a problem. Rashad Bateman, J.K. Dobbins, Patrick Queen, Nelson Aguilar in the fold now, Melvin Gordon. Like, you have a lot of guys that have proven themselves in the league. Some that have not, but you got some ballers. So what is the offense going to look like? Are you going to get the ball to Odell Beckham? Are you going to get the ball to Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman? These guys that can play, they can really play. Laquan Treadwell now, Justin Tucker, of course. You have a good drafted Kyle Hamilton. You have a really good team, but how is that offense going to look? Is it going to be more run heavy, similar to what they had last year with Lamar Jackson before he got injured? You have OBJ there now, so you have a receiver. There's no excuse now to throw the ball around. There's no excuse at all. You have some guys on that team. If you don't win and get out of the AFC North at number one, it's a failed year. It has to be. Rashad Bateman is out. J.K. Dobbins is out. Of course, they're both injured, but OBJ, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Devin Duvernay, who I didn't even mention, is another player that's just ridiculous. All right. Nelson Aguilar, Laquan Treadwell. You can go down the list of guys they have in this team. They have guys. We look at tight Isaiah Likely popped in when Mark Andrews got injured. He played well. They have guys, right? So what are you going to do this year? How is that offense going to look? I cannot wait to see exactly what they come up with and exactly what they produce fairly soon. That's going to be really interesting to see. Running back landing spots. We did speak about this initially, but knowing exactly where these teams are coming from and what's happening with all these different teams. Dalvin Cook has a multiple suitors that wants to take a bid, and the Dolphins are another team that has a bid for him to be in the fold, and that would be great. I don't believe in Tua Tagovailoa, but I believe that if Dalvin Cook was there with the likes of Tyreek Hill, with the likes of Jalen Waddle, and team they have there, I think they can be a monsters. Alexander Madison's going to be the number one guy in Minnesota now with Dalvin Cook gone. There's just a lot of players and teams that need to be picked up. Saquon, of course, needs to be picked up. Josh Jacobs probably not going to want to come back. Let's see exactly where these guys want to go, right? It's going to be see where they go. Let's see where they land. But the NFL is incredible. The NFL continues to provide different storylines, different players, how they're playing. It's just incredible to see what's happening. How would Jordan Love, how would he find? How would he actually fit in that entire team without the likes of Aaron Rodgers? How would Aaron Rodgers fit in it now? I was really excited when I saw the storyline of Aaron Rodgers, I believe Matt Stafford and some other players are going to be in the next quarterback series. And of course, I'm going to confirm that very soon right now. But the fact of the matter that this team is, and this team, just the entire league has characters. And it's not, I said Kirk Cousins, he's in this year, but Daniel Jones from the New York Giants, Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills, and Aaron Rodgers from the New York Jets are going to be in the season 2 of quarterback on Netflix, which is incredible. And I cannot wait for that to come out, but we'll see what happens fairly soon. But day by day, the holdouts, now we saw Stephon Diggs is completely on board on the same page with Sean McDermott, with Josh Allen. He's back in the fold. There's some drama there because he didn't report to camp earlier enough either, because he's still mad, of course, by losing to the Bengals in the playoffs last year. But all of that comes to show exactly that he's matured now. He's matured. He's back. He's in a good spot. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Stephon Diggs is an incredible talent, as incredible runner you'll probably ever see in general. There's so many storylines you can go through, right? Mac Jones, New England. How is he going to fare? How is Jordan Love going to fare, as I just said? Jimmy Garoppolo, how is he going to? How is Bryce Young, Sam Howell, all these quarterbacks in the fare? CJ Stroud taking on this. How are they going to fare in the NFL? They do have backups that are proven. You have Jacoby Brissett in Washington as a backup right now, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. It's going to be interesting to see exactly where all of the picks that I chose initially at the start of this podcast will go, and we'll find exactly how it's going to fare out fairly soon. Once again, you have Nick Chubb, number 1 at 7, Jonathan Taylor for most rushing yards, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. And you go down the list, receiving yards, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. And passing yards, really straightforward. You have Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, and Tua Tagovailoa. But I do believe one of those guys in the quarterback tree will be bumped out. I think Aaron Rodgers might be another guy that can pop in there, of course, because he has Garrett Wilson, because he has a number of guys there. Mims, you have so many players, so many receivers on that team. Corey Davis that are proven and have done a good job in that entire team, right? You do have Breece Hall coming back as well, too. So that team should be a problem in the AFC North as well, or AFC East, sorry, with the Bills, of course, with the Dolphins, so on and so forth. With the Patriots, they're going to be a problem, and a problem for the New England Patriots for sure, because I think in that entire league, I think that the Patriots might be maybe the last team in that division. What do you think about it? I'm going to talk a lot more about that very soon, but when it comes to the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jets, the Patriots, which team do you think will come number one, will come last? Bills are still going to be competing. Jets, we'll see exactly what happens with Aaron Rodgers and how he fits in the mold, but I think there's no doubt in my mind that he'll be fine. How is he fare? How's the entire team fare? Once again, I'm your host, Brandon Graham. This is the TRUENORTH.BET podcast. I've given you all the sauce for what you need to bet on TRUENORTH.BET. Please go ahead and do that right now. This is the TRUENORTH.BET podcast. Keep balling. And of course, stay safe this weekend as it is summer. But most importantly, I'll say it one more time, keep balling.